Hello, this is Rajeev Nalavadi, and today we'll be going over some of the novels from José Rodrigues dos Santos, or also referred to as J.R. Santos, or Santos is how I'll be referring to him during this video. Santos was born April 1st, 1964 in Beira, Mozambique, which was then a Portuguese colony. And then his family in the mid-70s, following the independence of Mozambique, which was like under Portuguese control till that time, and then it got the independence. They moved back to Portugal, and he's a very prominent author, journalist, and a university professor. He pursued a career in journalism and graduating from University of Lisbon and later earning his Ph.D. in war journalism from New University of Lisbon. He has a distinguished career as a journalist and working primarily as a reporter and war correspondent, and he was also a news anchor for RTP, which is the Portuguese public television network. He has covered conflicts in countries like Iraq, Afghanistan, and East Timor, and sort of these journalistic ventures have deeply influenced his writing style and also the thematic choices. J.R. Santos then went into the literary world with novels, which are a lot of history fiction and history fiction thrillers. And his novels are known for their meticulous research and very complex plots with a seamless blending of factual historical events with the fictional narrative. And he has a series of novels that feature Thomas Norona. He's a cryptanalyst and a professor, and he gets involved in various international intrigues and mysteries, providing like thrilling stories. All these novels are very thrilling with historical fiction, and they also incorporate detailed discussion on a scientific front, the historical front, and also there is a mix of philosophical topics, which makes them very intellectually very stimulating reads. J.R. Santos has served as professor at New University of Lisbon, where he teaches journalism. His academic background and journalistic experience, they sort of add a particular sort of depth and realism to his novels, and his novels are published in multiple languages. A very popular author. So his first novel that we'll be going over is Codex 632. Codex 632 is very interesting novel, of course, historical fiction thriller, right? And the novel starts off with the death of a historian who is investigating something related to a lot of history, and especially the history of Brazil at that time. So he dies mysteriously at a hotel in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and a sort of very mysterious circumstance as well. Drinking a fruit juice, he suddenly collapses and dies. Thomas Norona, the history professor and cryptanalyst, he is enlisted to complete the research of this deceased historian. So this research is funded by a mysterious American foundation, which wants to find the true identity of Christopher Columbus. And essentially, the historian was involved in something of that sort as well, also related to Brazil. So now the true identity of Christopher Columbus, which happens to be like a 500-year-old conspiracy during the age of discovery. So during that time, there was sort of a royal espionage, you can look at sorts, and who were the global superpowers in those times. Like there are superpowers in every century, right? And there were two global superpowers back in those days. And it deals with a lot of the esoteric world of Cabal and the Knights Templar is covered in this novel. So Norona is investigating the series of encrypted messages that the deceased historian left behind, and These cryptic messages are found among various documents, and they actually question the established history of Columbus and suggest that his origins were deliberately obscured, and who was trying to obscure them, and to what purpose, and what would be the benefit for someone who would be obscuring this truth. As Norona is deciphering all these codes, he uncovers startling evidence pointing to rather a very complex figure. Christopher Columbus was, of course, a very complex figure, right? When you have to deal with research, it was a research around those times to sail around the world, and it weaves together a range of historical documents. They kind of get pieced together, including the enigmatic Codex 632, which is a secret document supposedly written by Columbus himself, right? And narrative takes the readers across different continents and the eras when the investigation is happening. It goes from Jerusalem, the ancient Jerusalem and historic Portugal, to the modern day New York and Rio de Janeiro. This is what you get to read when you're reading Santos's novel. Essentially, he takes you to these locales and paints a very vivid picture of the current scenario. And while investigating, poring over some of these documents as well, you get transported back in the time. He explores the theories of Columbus as a secret agent for the Portuguese monarchy, and also about whether he was a Jew and whether he was Polish or Catalonian or Italian. All these are explored, and that's what keeps you engaged when you're reading this novel. And there is also references to Pedro Alvarez Cabral, who discovered Brazil in the early 1500s for the Portuguese. And there is a lot of references in this novel for Cabral as well. And also a lot of details on what officially has been part of history and the age of discoveries. A discussion around the location of Columbus' tomb. Is it in Seville Cathedral or some other place? So Thomas Norona, while investigating, dives deeper. He faces increasing danger that suggests powerful forces are wanting to keep the truth about Columbus's origins hidden. And why would they try to hide? There's reasons behind that as well. The research leads to a lot of revelations about the involvement of secret societies. There is espionage and complex politics around the age of discovery. All these exist in all the centuries, previous centuries as well as they exist now. And through this whole process, the protagonist undergoes personal growth of himself and faces the ethical dilemmas regarding the historical truth versus the national myths, the narrative that get weaved by various nations, and there is a reason for everything of why history gets written this way it is written. And Codex 632 can be praised for its meticulous research and a plot that challenges the conventional history of one of the most iconic figures in the world exploration. Around finding America as well, right? There is a lot of credit that needs to go, and also how the colonies got established and so on. There is reasoning provided, enough reasoning provided to the reader of why there is some discussion happening down that path. The novel is a mix of historical mystery, sort of an academic adventure, and an espionage thriller. It can be appealing to readers that are interested in history. And also a lot of the cryptography in guys who are involved in cryptography and the conspiracy theories. This will be a good read to have. And José Rodrigues dos Santos uses his background in journalism and the skills as a storyteller to craft a narrative which was both educational and entertaining for me personally. And I believe the readers will also like to question how history is written and why it gets written in a certain way. So you get to ponder on these questions yourself, like when you're reading, and get transported back like centuries, right, in history, and how the narrative gets weaved, and why do they get weaved the way they are, and if one needs to make progress, what needs to be done, right? And those are all the sort of intriguing questions you will end up getting answered as well, and also ponder in your own mind. So the next novel, Einstein Enigma, and beautiful novel, which is again part of the Thomas Norona series, and it follows the protagonist, who is Thomas Norona, and a cryptanalyst and a history professor, and now he has to embark on a quest to unravel a puzzle that is a puzzle related to Albert Einstein, the great scientist. And the story actually opens out in 1951 when Ben Gurion, the then Prime Minister of Israel, he visits Einstein in Princeton requesting some help from the scientist. This is newly formed Israel at that time, right? New country that is being established. And this meeting actually happened, right? And Einstein around this time is closer to death, and he's struggling with his final project about the theory of everything that we know about, and that could potentially sort of unite all the physical laws of the universe. However, rather than leaving a pure scientific manuscript, what Einstein leaves behind is a riddle that is sort of an intersection between science and spirituality. Einstein was both a scientist, and also he became very spiritual towards the end of his life, if we read a lot of history of Einstein. And in this manuscript, which is sort of cryptic, Einstein is suggesting a profound and potentially world-changing secret, and that is the God's formula. And the narrative now, after that meeting between Ben Gurion and Einstein, the narrative shifts to the present day, where Thomas Norona is recruited by the Iranian nuclear physicist who has discovered a hidden cipher in one of Einstein's long-lost papers. So this document seems to point to a formula that could potentially lead to the creation of a nuclear bomb, and potentially like a different version of the nuclear bomb. As Norona tries to dive deeper into decrypting the cipher, he realizes the stakes are much higher than what he initially thought. The formula not only has some global security implications, but it also questions the philosophical and ethical nature of what he is trying to uncover and dive deeper into, and the existence of God itself, right? And Thomas's journey takes him around the globe, from Tehran to Cairo, from Princeton to the Vatican. Along the way, this is what you get to like immerse yourself. Like if you are a traveler, you immerse yourself when you are reading the novel. Any of these novels, the previous one as well, get transported back in time, transported back to different places, and you visualize things. So along the way, when Norona is trying to dive deeper, he encounters various scholars, scientists, and religious leaders, each of them offering their own perspective, right? And then on the interplay between science and faith. So there is an enigma to be solved. So now Norona confronts both the external dangers and the internal philosophical dilemmas that he is himself growing when he's trying to dig deeper, find out more, and solve something. He meanwhile is growing himself, and particularly the conflict between reason and beliefs that we are all being led to follow. And Thomas has to now unravel the code in a stepwise fashion. This Einstein Enigma, the God's formula, he has to do that in a stepwise way to come and actually keeps the readers engaged to solve the riddle and begin to explore what we really believe, and we will grow ourselves as well. That's why reading is amazing. Like you question, and then you question in a contemporary sort of nature, right? And we get to grow more as well when you read these things. And we also begin to explore what we really believe when it comes to the big questions. And Santos is not afraid to ask questions in the novel, right? And this may get a lot of critiques as well, and some admirers. Critics and admirers usually have a democracy there. So it asks the questions, why are we here? What came before the universe? How is the universe? And these are deep questions, philosophical and spiritual questions, right? And the universe, eternal, does God exist? And we can ask the questions ourselves as well. How can we prove God exists? And some people don't like, and that's where the critiques start to form their own narrative, right? And personally, you need to look at these novels with an open mind, and that's when you will really enjoy. Look at it for the reason it is written. It's a historical fiction as well, and sort of contemporary thriller in a way when it comes to Norona, trying to solve this historical fact combined with fiction. So that's how we need to read it, I believe. The Einstein Enigma is not just a novel about solving a scientific mystery. It's also the deeper questions and the exploration that we can have about the larger questions about universe and human existence. Santos integrates the real scientific theories and philosophical questions into the fabric of the story. It's very intellectually stimulating and broadly accessible. And I would encourage you yourself also have to go through these thoughts, and that's when it becomes interesting. Any novel becomes interesting that way. A thrilling narrative that combines the factual scientific exploration, the suspense, the intrigue, and it's a well-crafted thriller. And it will appeal to the readers who want to know more philosophically and the metaphysical inquiries and spirituality as well. So it's a very good novel for asking these questions and pondering over in your own mind about how would you address these questions yourself when the questions get posed. So Einstein Enigma is a wonderful read, and I would encourage the readers to pick it up and go through it. So that's it for today, and till next time for another author and their novels, we'll come back. Thank you. Bye.